And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's NBA Observations, everyone. It's Gerald Glassford. Come right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week. Twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. Josh and I dropped an episode yesterday with Assassin's Creed and their new game that's coming up, Assassin's Creed Shadows. Plus, we talk X-Men 97 coming off the successful first season, Hellblade 2, Senua's Sacrifice coming out this week, and more. So go ahead and check out our latest episode of the PCC right there for you, wherever you get your podcasts and on radio stations worldwide. Inside Sports, Fantasy Football also as well, but also we have some other great things that you need to know about, including Joe Soro right next to me. He is Ox1947 at LakersBall.com. Plus, also as well, of course, you want to go ahead and check out what he's doing today at Simblades, SimbladesWithAY.com. I'm hoping that Texas deal comes through for you, my friend. Absolutely. That would make you want to see a smile on Joe's face. That will put a smile on Joe's face if that deal comes through. But also as well, of course, go ahead and check out our good friends John Costa at Lakers Corner Clutch Talk, our good friend Stone Hansen at report_court on Twitter, our good friends Empire Jeff TV, Lakers in 5, Daniel Barry Sports Highlights, yo! Also as well, of course, John McCallion channel, and please support all these great channels, plus our channel as well, wherever you get it, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. I can't say TikTok anymore because we got banned from there, but Instagram, we're still on there. We're still okay. Threads, we're still good there too. So please support us by following us today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. Cool, bro. I do have Discord. I hate Discord. It's a mess. Their interface looks crappy. It's sloppy. It's junky. I cannot stand Discord. I use it only sparingly when I have to. Only when I'm complaining of playback, which is quite often, actually, sometimes. But yeah, need I digress. I do say, well, the conference finals, unfortunately, do not include the Lakers, but we're going to go ahead and preview them anyways. We're going to give you the deep lowdown on the conference finals coming up here between the Boston Celtics and the Indiana Pacers, plus also as well, Minnesota and Dallas. But also some comments were made earlier today by Rich Paul to Shams Charania in regards to if LeBron is part of the process in as far as the decision-making process with the coaching hire. Do we believe the answer by Rich Paul? We'll go ahead and talk about that on the show as well. But I will say that it is the conference championships right now, Eastern and Western, and here today to discuss them. So I'll throw out some questions to these guys. First up, first man here, it is, of course, Joe Soro, aka Ox1947 at LakersBall.com, and, of course, Mr. Simblades, SimbladesWithAY.com. If you have someone out there that wants to go ahead and reshape their lawn into something much more better than it is today, right there, he's got the hat. Simblades, SimbladesWithAY.com. But I will say, magic, and my door as well. That's the problem. But I will ask you this, Joe. It is, I'm going to start with the Western Conference. And if Frank's listening or Frank stops by, it is his Dallas Mavericks. All props to him. They beat our Reggae Joe's, our good friend Reggae Joe's Oklahoma City Thunder to match up against the Minnesota Timberwolves, pulling off the biggest second half 20-point game 7, whatever you want to say, type victory after the massive choke job at home by Denver, which I have to say I thoroughly enjoyed, especially the bye part when Anthony Edwards was waving bye to the crowd. Thought that was just classic. But your thoughts on this Western Conference matchup? I like it. It's intriguing. If Luka and Kyrie go wild, Dallas has every chance in the world. But if that swarming defense of Minnesota really looks good, like it did for 3 games and 1 half like it did against Denver, watch out. They could be heading to the NBA Finals, Joe.
Yeah, all things point to Minnesota putting things together here and getting to the finals. It can't be a guarantee because they are a relatively young team, although Karl Anthony Towns has been here for a while. But you can never really trust Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert if another team gets on a run, kind of like how Denver did for 3 games in a row. And then they were able to kind of settle down in game 6 and blow Denver out. And then I don't think we've really registered how incredibly rare a game 7 on the road being down 20. This was almost the equivalent of Atlanta, New England. They weren't up 20 in the first quarter like they were like the Kings were in game 4 of the 2002 Western Conference Finals. They were up 20 in the third quarter, and then they got smashed the rest of the way. But each game seems to have its own personality, and I've noticed that with the NBA a little more and more as the year goes on. The results still stem from familiarity and consistency throughout the entire season. And there was some really good statistics that some of my good friends at LakersBall.com put together that I thought was was relevant to our discussions throughout the year and why we kept harping on consistency and focus during the regular season. NHL, Major League Baseball, and to some degree the NFL, the regular season might be, and it can be important, but you can still win. In the NBA, it's not. In the NBA, it's extremely rare for a team that's failing in the regular season, failing as in to meet a higher seed, and then all of a sudden they turn it on and win four series. So the statistics, besides wins and losses, I thought this was kind of a cool statistic. Since 2018, the plus minus average margin of victory has been a key statistic in kind of gauging what team will likely win it all. So the team that I'm going to start with is the 08 Celtics. Their average margin of victory was 1. And then the Lakers the following year was second, and then 6, 8, 4, 2, 1, 1, 4, 1, 3, 3, 5, 3, 5, 6. And of course, the Lakers this year, just to put it in comparison, was 19. So there's clear evidence that if you're not, I guess, in the top 8, and even the 8 and the 6 were kind of a little high. They did win that year, which was the Dallas Mavericks in 11, and then Denver last year. Denver took their foot off the brake a little bit last year, I should say off the gas, and they probably would have had a better record, but they were, they paced themselves well enough to where they could destroy everybody in the playoffs. But beyond all that is you have to be very consistent in how you win during the regular season. And most of the teams that have won championships since 2008 are usually in that top 5 in a lot of 1s, a lot of 2s, and a lot of 3s in terms of the plus minus differential. And when I was reading the statistic, it made me even more just upset that nobody's like us who just happened to fall into seeing that statistic know more about what needs to get done than the people who are getting paid millions of dollars to do this. You're telling me they didn't know this? There's got to be, and I'll tell you why I know they didn't know this. The coach doesn't say Laker fans live and die by each game. That was pure evidence that Darvin Ham did not know what he was doing, number 1, did not have a plan on knowing what to do, and number 3, probably never did. And it's we want intelligent people in good spots. There is a difference between players who can't and are not capable of doing things on the court, and then there's are they put in the best position to win or to play well? And watching 89 Laker games this year, meaningful Laker games, I saw more than probably 60 to 70% of the time, Lakers were always struggling to do that. And word has come out by Rich Paul that LeBron has no say in the coaching decision. And that right there tells you how these guys just don't learn their lessons. They are stubborn. They keep doing the same bullshit over and over again and thinking that they are going to get a different result. No, Rich Paul. LeBron is imperative to this next coaching decision. Why? Because Genie is going to give him anything he wants, and we have to watch him play. LeBron needs to sit down with the potential coach and let that potential coach ask him questions so that he understands what he's getting into. And if he has a problem with that coach, then they have to address it. And if there's a way you can address it in the sense of telling LeBron, look, LeBron, if you're not going to like anybody we bring in here, then what are we doing here? Do you just want to play basketball and us sell tickets? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Jeannie and Rob have sat back and said, look, man, we've won 6 championships in this century. We just won one 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not going to kill myself anymore. I'm too old. I'm too this. I'm too that. Okay, then maybe it's time for you to go. If you're tired. Jerry West is still working. He's almost 90, right? Our Greg Popovich is still coaching. He's 400 years old. So make a decision, right? Sean, training day, make a decision. Make a decision. Make a decision. If you're too old and too tired, get out of there and bring in somebody who's got the energy, who understands simple details. The details said this year and last year, you don't perform well in the regular season in the NBA, you are not going to win a championship. And that right there needs to be the focus. Can you get to a spot next year where you're winning regular season games and they mean something?
I actually asked him a question on the Western Conference Finals, and his got started off with that. But I guess we'll lead in with the Rich Paul stuff. So we'll start off with that. But once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro along with Magic Man Sean Grice and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. It is, of course, the Western Conference and Eastern Conference Finals. But first, Good Man is here. He's the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to talk about Rich Paul's claim that LeBron is not involved with the Lakers coaching search. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. And Sean, great to have you here. Just want to go ahead and make sure that well, I guess that we're not dealing with the conference finals right now. I guess we push that to the side. It is about LeBron James and whether or not he does have control, sway, influence in this situation or not, Magic Man. I'll go ahead and unmute you right now.
That's the second best quote from Training Day. Absolutely.
King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
I don't even think that's the best one, Gerald.
I love that quote. I'm sorry. That always gets me when I watch it.
You've got to control your smiles and cries because that's all you've got in life.
Could be.
And right now, I'm going to control my cries hearing that garbled goop of a narrative from Rich Paul. Um, Gerald, you know, if he wants to be um, the basic bland executive of a agency and just regurgitate mindless, senseless um, goop. That's his business. The fact is that we all know that um, if you took control out of LeBron James's hands, what do you think would happen, Gerald?
He starts off with a passive aggressive line of rhetoric, and that will make me even more nauseous. I love
Yes.
LeBron, his game, one of the greatest players of all time. If you were to go out and create a player, could shoot well, 6'8", 6'9", 250, 260, 270, coming down the lane. It's about as close to as what you get to a player that you would construct, which is him, and just achieved greatness over the years. But damn, I do hate his passive aggressive rhetoric. I just cannot stand it anymore. I've apologized for it. I've made excuses for it. I've argued back and forth with Joe for it, but you know what? I'm done. I'm just done. You just
Yeah,
be
if
direct
you
or not direct. Just that's it.
that's it, Gerald. If you cleaved control away from him and ripped it away from him, it would you could basically map out what would happen. And Gerald started with number one, the passive aggressiveness. It's almost like that um, Hamburglar um, drawing we all did at McDonald's
Yeah,
when
came out of the kids' meal. There you go.
yeah, the kids meal where you would like go around. It'd be a circuitous little turn there, but eventually you'd find the Hamburglar and get back the burger. That's essentially what it is, trying to take control away from him. He'd start with the passive aggressiveness. If that didn't, if that didn't cause any shockwaves or ripple effects, he moves on to his next bag of tricks, which is he will actually whine and complain to the media, which he hasn't done as much in the past few years, Gerald. But you're right, like bad habits die hard, and he would eventually do that, I think. And then if it's unresolved at that point, what he'll do is he'll make it absolutely unequivocally difficult for everybody in his environment to be comfortable until he gets what he wants. And um all the pictures I'm seeing lately, Gerald, are of JJ Redick and LeBron James just being buddy buddy. He's got his hands on his shoulder, he's got his arm on his shoulder. It just walking down the sunshine together, hand in hand. He's going to get what he wants, and we're going to suffer for it because he is not ready to be an NBA coach. Well, he may have the backing of management, whatever that means, and the backing of LeBron James. The fact of the matter is that even with an accomplished NBA career, um, JJ Redick is kind of not all that dissimilar from Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham was completely cynical about fans and his inability to understand the environment around him. It's almost like this, Gerald. And Gerald was a manager for many, many years. Gerald, I'm sure you had a candidate who interviewed well. They showed up on time, were very punctual, very polite, had all the qualifications Gerald was looking for, had a good working experience, and then Gerald put them on the floor and they failed miserably.
It's happened to everyone.
Yes, that's kind of what happened with Darvin Ham. Interviewed well, seemingly has all the qualifications, the credentials behind him, has good references, very punctual. Yet when it comes to the day-to-day vicissitudes of the job and understanding on the job what works, what doesn't work, you fail and you hit the ground face first. I have I have a deep, deep, deep worry and consternation that that's exactly what's going to happen to JJ Redick. He's never been an assistant coach. It doesn't matter that he played. Being a coach is a very different responsibility than being in a booth with Mike Breen and Doris Burke. It's a big matzo ball of responsibility, and you could end up with spaghetti running down your shirt. And I think that's what would happen with JJ Redick.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But Joe, again, I do not believe it. I do not believe that we will get the truth on this, but I do not believe for a moment that LeBron will not be asked, talked about, or consulted with in regards to a new coach for the Los Angeles Lakers, Joe.
If the Lakers hire JJ Redick, it's an official nail it's the official nail.
So, okay, let me ask you this. You always talk about it. You're going to leave. You're going to bolt if LeBron. So if they hire JJ, they get LeBron on the 3-year 160, and they draft Bronny James.
It's just if they draft Bronny.
Okay.
I'm not leaving if they pick JJ Redick as a coach.
But you will let everyone know your displeasure.
But it's going to be a bad hire. It's going to be a terrible hire. This team needs someone conditioned to coach at the very least. And a coach that's not been an assistant for 15 years, which takes Sam Cassell out of the equation, although I've heard some arguments about how he's got some ability, but just like a 4-year college player, it doesn't work out normally. Just like a player that's been playing in AAA too long, it doesn't work like that. Guys' talent will show itself early. Most guys get brought up from AA. Most coaches will be head coaches much quicker than 13, 14 years. And I don't think if I'm Sam Cassell, I think the last place I want to go to LA is LA anyways. You don't want to get your feet wet. You don't want to get your feet wet there. You want to maybe go to a team that might be on the cusp of starting to play well and has some youth versus trying to have to deal with the circus of having a terrible owner, a horrible GM, and a aging star. You want to at least have a shot so you don't get stuck like Michael Cooper did or Brian Shaw. A lot of times confidence confidence and timing can destroy a career. Happens a lot to young NFL quarterbacks going into the wrong system, having the wrong coach, getting sacked too much. It can throw everything off, and a lot of them don't recover.
Well, I want to say this, Pork Rinds, and I'm not trying to defend JJ Redick at all. Please do not get me wrong on this. He's saying, how would JJ Redick come up with a game plan? He never coached anywhere. He never organized a practice. He never coached anywhere. It's not like he didn't play, 17 years in the league, Magic Man? I think. How many?
I think it was 14, Gerald.
14? Okay, 14, 15. Well, he played 10 plus years in the NBA. So I'm assuming he saw firsthand what other coaches did to organize practices, things like that. And as a veteran, when he became a veteran, I'm sure he helped organize practices. So it's coming up with game plans and things of that nature is from what he's seen and what he can emulate and take from himself. I mean, observing is part of the thing as far as gaining experience, Joe. And I do not think it's going to be a great hire if they go ahead and get JJ Redick. Don't get me wrong on this, but to say that he would have no game plan, Joe, and and the basic things that he was talking about at pork rinds, I think that's a stretch. I think he actually has or would have a basic understanding, especially with assistant coaches alongside him. It's just the fact when you get into the game and the fact that he has no experience, Joe, firsthand as far as coaching on that sideline, that's where you would see the issues come about as well. That and what is his coaching evaluation of talent and rotations? What would they be like? I mean, we could do that ourselves as far as make our own rotations, but it isn't until you actually execute them in real life is where you come into all those problems. So we'll see.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, Gerald, you were correct. Technically, it's 17 seasons, but he only played more than 50 games 10 times.
I don't think a NBA player's career as a player.
Here's
The-
JJ Redick's playing career in a summary for me, Gerald. All right. When he became a free agent the last year in Philly, which was 2018, 2019, he made he signed a deal for 2 years, 26 million originally with Philly. Now Philly offered him 13 million again, but only for 1 year. JJ Redick, who's from the East Coast, okay, signed a deal with the New Orleans Pelicans for 1 million more. 1 million. 1 million, ladies and gentlemen. You can look this up for the New Orleans Pelicans. And do you remember that experience at all, Gerald? Do you kind of vaguely remember how he felt about playing in New Orleans? He was miserable.
Yeah.
He was miserable. He complained that, he was away from his wife, he was away from his family. He wanted to go back home. And Gerald, there was a rumor, and it was festering like a dead pig at the back of a slaughterhouse, that he was going to he wanted to get waived, and he wanted to sign with the Brooklyn Nets because he was willing to usurp Joe Harris's role on the Brooklyn Nets to be their three-point shooter. And he didn't get his wish. And he complained about it incessantly. And it to me, that's kind of a summary of who JJ Redick is. He's a whiner. He whined and wanted to complain and get his way. And maybe that's why the Lakers are looking at JJ Redick so fondly, is because he's almost exactly like LeBron. They're literally the same age. They kind of had similar cynical attitudes about everything outside their own environment. And, you know, I guess it's just you have blinders on and you don't want to see the negative of somebody there. But, you know, Reddick is a case of too fast, too soon. Gerald, when you are in a position like this, you need to be able to walk into an interview while being confident in your own skin, and also being able to vocally explain what your positions are as far as basketball is concerned. And that's threefold if you're a coach. One is you need a syllabus. So, what do I mean by a syllabus? A coach usually comes into an interview with either a PowerPoint presentation or a bunch of folders, and they can explain exactly what kind of schemes and concepts they're going to incorporate, how those schemes and concepts fit with your roster that you have. And then there's a discussion about what kind of players you're looking for or need to be able to have those concepts and schemes be successful. Joe's the NFL expert. Joe, in today's NFL, some guys are uh, in that organization's house for like 6 to 8 hours, and they're just being blistered with questions over and over again, and it's rapid fire, right? So what would you do if this happened? And what do you think about this? And what do you think about, and normally the conversation should be smooth. I don't think it would be smooth with Redick. I think it'd be awkward. Again, he's very vapid and vague in what he talks about on those broadcasts. I don't know what is. Does anybody have any idea about what kind of coaching philosophy he has? I
Joe,
don't think so.
I only take bits and
I
pieces
don't think
from his
so.
analysis on ESPN, which doesn't give you very much of an answer, Sean.
He's had Stan Van Gundy, Doc Rivers, Stan Van Gundy, Brett Brown as head coaches. Now, you're talking about guys who really haven't had other than Doc for 1 year, haven't really had success as an NBA coach in galvanizing a locker room and galvanizing people into the style of play and the concepts and schemes you want to run. Again, I think this is it's Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka and the Lakers defaulting to Hollywood.
Well,
Defaulting to Hollywood mode again.
Well, I told you, Magic Man, that the dearth of candidates are not really exciting me. And I just told Darren in the chat, I feel like I'm going to Walmart, going over to the DVD clearance bin, and I'm reaching my hand in there to try and hopefully find something that's a gem somewhere in that $5 clearance bin. But I'm not sure. And most likely I'm going to pull out something that's not going to eventually work out for me. But again, that's how I feel, because none of the candidates inspire me. Now, Chris Quinn, Mika Nori, David Adelman, JJ Redick, any one of these guys can step in and maybe be that next level coach that we need. But again, on the surface, Joe, it's just does not look good. It just does not look good. I mean, there is every possibility that one of them or whoever gets hired will succeed as a Lakers coach, but for me, I'm just not seeing it right now.
The interpretation by those whomever is, again, it varies. We've discussed, even on our show, that there are those that will interpret certain personalities a certain way, and they couldn't be right to some degree. They could be wrong. I said something in talking about Bronny James, that I could score 5 points a game. That came out because I truly believe that if I was training to play college basketball and really, really put in the work, I truly believe that I could do that. But this would have to be something where this is something I've been doing since I was in junior high. Some people can look at that as you're fooling yourself, you're a joke, you're this, you're that, and you sometimes you would be right too. You would be right.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Joe.
So the interpretation is you're arrogant, you're full of it, you would never be able to do that. And you're right, based off of what you're seeing now. But the irritation is, why is there value in that? So it's not easy to do that. It's not hard, but yet you have someone who's going to reap the benefits of their name playing that way. And then now we look at JJ Redick as a comparison, an example of, well, he played X amount of years in the NBA and he's got the look. He's kind of central casting, all that stuff. We know that's playing a factor. He knows LeBron. Well, that's all nice. That's very nice, but will he be able to motivate? Will he be able to motivate these players to play fundamental basketball in January when they're tired? Will he be able to yell at LeBron to get his butt back on defense when he starts whining to the refs? Will he be able to use AD for the first time in his career as a true one option and get him in a position to be an MVP in this league? These are the questions you have to ask JJ Redick. And then when you go to interviews, there are personality questions. I would ask JJ Redick, what was going through your mind? This is the last, they always say, well, what's your weakness in the end? Or something goofy like that, right? My questions would be, I want to understand something here, JJ Redick. You played in the NBA. You understand this part, right? A little bit. You did play. I want to know your rationale on why you would call a certain era of a game full of plumbers and then double down and say the 90s were watered down. Essentially discrediting a quarter of the players that are in the top 75 all time. How am I going to trust you when you make a asinine statement like that? You had you kind of had a little bit of like, oh, okay, you take it easy here. When he said that Jerry West and the Bill Russell era had a bunch of plumbers. Okay, maybe there's some truth to that. There wasn't a lot of competition. As much, I should say. And there weren't a lot of teams. I think there was 8 or 9 teams, right? But then you double down and say, in what my opinion is probably the toughest, most just beastly era of basketball in the 90s, and you call that stuff watered down, and it happened to have the greatest athlete of the 20th century in his prime during that time.
That's hilarious to me because
that sets a mindset. Like if you're that dense in analyzing something like that, how am I going to trust you in making a decision in the fourth quarter? Are you going to say, well, I'm not going to guard Jokic. He's this big, chubby guy. Right? I don't know. Is that what you're going to say? I mean, did you see the players in the 90s? Did people forget? I mean, let's compare, and congratulations to Chet Holmgren. I know I've been picking on him here last month, but congratulations for making the first team All-NBA rookie. Oh, and Gerald, you'll love this. 2 of the guys on that team, you know who they are.
Yeah, I know who they are.
We'll get to that. Yeah. 2 of the guys that were picked after the great JHS are on the first rookie team, right? So who says the rookie players can't make it? And it's probably they should have had 6 because Lively should have been on that team probably too, right?
Yep.
But we had no chance with him.
He was on the second team. So
okay.
Yeah.
So anyways,
but you're right. We had no chance.
You're going to sit there and you're going to tell me that a league where you saw guys like Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, Alonzo Mourning, Shaq early in his career, they looked like bodybuilders playing basketball. Shredded, big, powerful, dominant. Heck, did you ever see Tim Hardaway? How stocky he looked? These guys were beasts. These guys were men. And then now you have guys that weigh 216 pounds.
He had the killer crossover.
216 pounds that are 6'10".
Well, Bag of Dragon wanted to go ahead and mention that his comments were mainly reflective of the regular season as opposed to the postseason. Now, postseason, as you and I know, especially in the 90s, those were like dogfights and barroom brawls. They were so intense at times, but he was discrediting more, according to Bag and Dragon, the regular season effort, play, and stats that went into it for that era.
Yeah, guys like Jerry Stackhouse averaging 30 a game. I don't understand how there's not. It's not a good look for JJ Redick, and it won't matter according to our criteria. Our criteria is not going to be used to judge who's going to be the next coach. Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and then Mr. LeBron James are going to make this call. And I did want LeBron's input in this in terms of what he plans to do with this next coach, not make the decision really, even though it is indirectly a decision that he will influence. But it's supposed to be a collaboration so that we understand what your focus is. If you're going to be a stubborn jerk and not listen to the coach, who do you think the other guys are going to listen? You think AD and Austin and Rui are going to listen? No. So now you're just killing another year or two. You're not really serious about winning. So that's it. And we've seen friends before, guys. Remember Derek Jeter? Hey, A-Rod, come play over here. All of a sudden, he started hanging out with A-Rod, and within 2 months, couldn't stand A-Rod.
I remember that.
Right? Right? Because A-Rod has this aura of just pretentiousness. He's always had it. And it takes day in and day out to be around that to really understand how irritating it can be. I mean, even David Ortiz was making fun of him on the show. And you know how you can tell when someone's making fun of somebody, but they kind of mean it? David Ortiz is talking about how they all went to dinner, and he's like, and this guy brings his own food to dinner. Like, dude, if you're going to – I understand bodybuilders doing that stuff. I get that sort of. That's their profession.
I'd bring my own food to dinner.
No. You don't go to dinner then. Don't go to dinner then. Oh, you're different. You're diabetic. That's different.
That's why.
Different.
That's why.
But Mr. A-Rod has to set himself apart from the group, right? Allegedly, anyways. But it's I haven't heard anything concrete yet. I don't know if you guys have. I'm pretty in tune with what's going on. I have no idea which way they're going to go here yet.
And on that note, we will go ahead and continue to update you with what's going on as far as the Lakers coaching search, plus also give you the heads up on what's going on with our thoughts on who the Lakers might be leaning towards in this coaching search. But please keep it tuned right here at the Lakers Fast Break. We're doing, check us out. We'll get you the 411 on what's going on for the new Lakers coach. But before we head on out, guys, I do want to go ahead and touch on something Joe did touch on, Magic Man, and that was the all-rookie team. And thank you so much for appreciate Darren with the super chat. We will keep preaching. Absolutely. Appreciate the super chat indeed. But Magic Man, wanted to go ahead and ask you your thoughts on the all-rookie team. Let me go ahead and I'll bring it up here in just a sec as you talk about it. The all-rookie first team, Holmgren, Wembanyama, Brandon Miller of Charlotte, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Brandon Podziemski. That's your first team. The second team is Lively from Dallas, Amen Thompson from Houston, Keontae George from Utah, Cason Wallace from OKC, and Gigi's Jackson, Memphis. 3 of those individuals we could have drafted, Magic Man. I'm not even talking about the others receiving votes, which we'll talk about in a sec, but 3 of those individuals Rob Pelinka could have gotten for our team.
Yes, Gerald. And well, most of those guys on that list shouldn't be a surprise. I have to say, hats off to GG Jackson. And that guy worked his ass off this year. He really did. And being the 45th pick, especially to Memphis, and with John Morant coming back and seemingly Memphis being a healthy team, he didn't get a lot of burn at the start, Gerald. And not only that, Gerald, Memphis was so depleted and so injury riddled that Gigi Jackson was essentially playing with guys on two-way contracts or guys on 10 days. And he still managed to find a way to make an all rookie squad. So of all the selectants there, very, very well deserved. A special shout out to Gigi Jackson, who busted his ass to make that team. But yeah, I mean, Derek Lively's on that list. Pods is on that list. Uh, I don't know how many times Gerald said, "Yeah, the Lakers should look at Lively if he's available." Well, he wasn't available. He
Or
got
trade
traded.
up to go get him.
Trade up to go get him. And then, well, Gerald said, "Well, Pods is a pretty good player. If he's available, still available there, could take him. He's smart, knows what he's doing out there. Probably needs a little bit more seasoning. I mean, we didn't know that at the time, but looks as though he was NBA ready from the jump. Yep, nope. We're gonna pass on him. We're gonna pass on Cam Whitmore, and we're gonna take JHS."
So I'm going to ask you this, Joe, and you can chime in if you want as well, Magic Man, on this. I'm looking at the other players receiving votes, and I still don't know how Scoot Henderson, as much as I enjoy him and think he's still going to have a decent career, how he got a first place vote. I thought that was just absolutely nuts that he got a first place vote in this. But okay,
I know why.
well, let me go ahead and say this. But Trace Jackson Davis, Asar Thompson, Scoot Henderson, Bilal Coulibaly, Grady Dick, Cam Whitmore, Kamara from Portland, Jordan Hawkins from New Orleans, Reith from Portland, Anthony Black from Orlando, Mincic from Charlotte, and Sasser from Detroit all got votes. Do you see anyone for the Los Angeles Lakers out of the, was it 3 or 4 rookies that they brought onto the team this year? Do you see any of them on this list, Joe?
No, but I would like to know who voted for Scoot Henderson on
You
the
and I
first.
both.
That
We
gentleman.
know,
should-
Joe. We know who it is. We're gonna get their ass in the summer.
Okay, so this is another reason why a lot of these guys shouldn't have votes. It's guys.
Nepotistic access.
When are
media.
they going to stop allowing these guys to vote? Are we going to?
Bloodhound, that was a good one.
Do these guys? Is it like the Oscars where they kiss enough ass, where they get put on the ballot so that they can be voters? Is that how it works? I would really like to know this. I'm glad we're getting into this now. This light lit up even a bigger fire a little bit because it's even the minimal stuff that they're screwing up, and we're gonna destroy these guys this summer. Stay tuned. We're gonna really go after these guys. I don't know if we have a reach at this point to get to create an issue here, but it needs to start somewhere. And hopefully down the road, when we do have a bigger forum, this thing needs to get loud.
We ain't gonna spank that butt, Joe. We're gonna kick it real hard.
Yeah, because I'm about tired of this. I really am. I'm tired. I'm tired of these jokesters voting. It's not even they don't know what they're watching. They don't know what they're doing. They don't even watch. I forgot Scoot Henderson was in the league sometimes. And I watch a lot of basketball. I don't watch as much as Sean, but guys, we know who's good and who's not, rookie or not. First place vote to Scoot Henderson? Come on, man.
Didn't deserve it.
This should have been lit in 2000 after Fred Hickman. That thing should have been figured out. But because he was such a prominent name, I remember him and Vince Cellini had after ESPN in the 90s, I remember I used to watch, well, actually, even in the 90s, I used to like watching the CNN SI show.
Not even Stephen A. Smith, who's writing for the still writing for the Philadelphia Inquirer then, thought that Allen Iverson had a better year than Shaquille O'Neal.
It was bad. And that should have been the light. That should have been the spark. But it's been going on for a while. It's not, this isn't something that started even in 2000. I still say, I know Charles Barkley was an important player in 93, and I know that Karl Malone was an important player in 97. But giving an MVP to anyone that year but Michael Jordan set the stage. If you tell me that we're bored voting for the same guy, you should have your vote revoked. Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. I'm not fighting. Look, it doesn't change my life whether they're an 8-time MVP or a 1-time MVP. It's about the respect. It's about the integrity of the game. And TJ Watt said something after losing another Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL this year. Is what do I need to know, what do I need to do? He should have 3, probably 4, but 3 for sure. And losing to Myles Garrett, who had 1 sack the last 6 damn games in a season where there's only 17 games and 1 playoff. How the hell did that happen? How does that happen? How do you give the Defensive Player of the Year award for the 4th time to Rudy Gobert, who doesn't even scare a child when they go into the lane?
Well, on that note,
I think a lot of those NFL voters also had an afternoon nap after about 3 beers and a couple of pina coladas, Joe.
Whatever they had, they need to take the beer that they drank and put their votes in there so they can drink it away. And it's value, again, value is based on opinion, it seems like, versus talent and execution. And I think the Lakers at management face that issue too. Are they going to pick a coach due to feelings, or are they going to pick a coach due to trying to win a championship? Because if you're not serious about winning a championship, why bring back LeBron? You go make a call to Anthony Davis and go, look, Anthony, we're going to build around you now. I'm sorry, but we need to start working on this right now. We need to make you an MVP next year. That's what I would do.
Who do you want to be coach, Anthony? Because we value your opinion more than LeBron. I'd flat out say that to him, Gerald. I would flat out. And if LeBron was in the room, so be it if he gets his feelings hurt. But I would say that if I was Rob Pelinka.
What coach out there right now, this is the question we need to ask ourselves. What coach out there can put Anthony Davis in the right positions, game in and game out? And I'm not talking about defense. That's the coach you hire.
We know you don't want to take 6 threes a game. So that guy's out.
That's
Where do you want?
Yeah, that's schmucking is just, that's another thing I forget to mention too. The fact that he wanted AD to shoot 6 threes. What a just absolute horrendous.
Do you remember how I reacted?
What a horrendous.
The vein was almost popping out of your forehead.
Z and I were going back at it, back and forth, and she was so insistent on following that Ham philosophy. And it's so funny because she became one of the biggest Ham detractors after a little while. And I'm just saying, like, I was here all along. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that AD should not be shooting threes. And it just doesn't. And if he goes out and whoever coach we get asks him to do that again, they need to be fired on the spot. And we'll just leave it at that. But we'll continue this discussion on the Lakers coach down the line. But we have just a few minutes left. So we did promise you our conference finals predictions. It is the Western Conference Finals with the Dallas Mavericks heading up here in a couple days against the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota to start off with. Joe, I'll bring it back to you before I bring your insight, Mr. Pretzel Magic Man. I want to go ahead and hear your thoughts, Joe, on this. It is, of course, Minnesota coming off the really impressive second half comeback to get the series victory over Denver, winning three times in Denver, which if you would have told me that would have just blown me away in advance. I just could not believe that. So your thoughts on the series, what key are you looking for? What key or keys are you looking for? And exactly how many games do you think it'll do to get it done?
I'm going to pick Minnesota in 6. And the keys is making sure that Anthony Edwards doesn't go into his lulls anymore the rest of the way. A lot of times he goes into these lulls where he doesn't score anything. It's different if he's trying to set up the team at the beginning of the game. That's fine. But this isn't the kind of team where you set anything up. There's just be this Michael Jordan guy that everybody keeps calling you. Be that guy. Be aggressive to the basket, draw the attention to yourself, and then use Karl Anthony Towns in his best position, which is wide open shots, especially from 3. And then when it comes to Rudy Gobert, pick and roll them to death. They don't have any bigs really that can probably match height with them, but use your length. You beat the Denver Nuggets with your length. Just like Jokic said, that team was built to beat Denver, and then they did beat Denver. You should be able to beat the Dallas that has no height anywhere hardly, except for maybe one guy, and take this home and get to the finals and hopefully meet, well, not hopefully, but and if you meet my prediction in finals, which is the Celtics, then Porzingis hurt, you should be able to run away with that in 6 as well.
Magic Man, I bring it to you, my friend, Mr. Pretzel Guy. Your thoughts. I should call you Magic Pretzel for right now, but Magic Man, your thoughts on the Western Conference Finals. What important matchup or key are you looking at, and who do you have?
Gerald, it's kind of a hot take, but pretzels over peanuts when you're drinking beer.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Most pretzels, yeah. I agree. Pretzel.com, go ahead and sponsor us. We'll go ahead and push you and get free samples.
Absolutely. 100%. Make us your brother, pretzels.com. Gerald, I think that home court advantage will play a factor in this series. I'm still gonna double down and say I think the Mavs win in 7. I will
on the
say
road
this
in Minnesota.
Yeah, I will say this though. There's a caveat. I think if one team in this series ends up winning 2 games in a row, it'll be really hard for the other team to make up that deficit.
That's a good point.
I think if you're able to keep it within a game, it'll be a close series, but it could go the way you and Joe think, and Minnesota just takes those 2 at home, and it could be a problem for the Mavs.
I'm just going to say this, Magic Man and Joe, the best, like I've said throughout, the best of Minnesota has been better than any team playing in the playoffs. I mean, we saw them absolutely obliterate Phoenix. And the way they did it is they took away, Joe and Sean, everything off the perimeter from them, which I know Dallas likes to do as well. And if Dallas is going to actually overcome this defensive struggle, because they've got height literally everywhere except for Conley, they have to figure out a way to exploit Conley with either Kyrie or Luka. And that to me, I think is their only saving grace. PJ Washington, who I kind of discredited in the last round before he went off. Frank was like, why are you not why you're not, I just didn't think he would give you that kind of consistent play because he's a career 32% shooter. And same thing with Derek Jones, but you got key shooting from them at the 3 and the 4. And I said to Frank, I said, if you get the kind of production you need from the 3 and the 4 spots, I think you've got a chance to go a long ways. And I'll say the same thing again. If they don't get good production from the 3 and the 4 spots, they won't win in 5. I think they'll get pretty decent production, but I still think, even despite Magic Man and Joe, the inconsistency of the offense with Minnesota, because at times it goes to a slog, they go to iso ball, and it looks really bad. It reminds me of the Lakers. I think that their defense will overcome it, and I think they'll win in 7. I'm going to say Minnesota in 7. So that's my call.
It's not going to last that long.
I'm just going to be. It's kind of a.
The thing is,
I don't want to say it's 6 though.
Anthony Edwards should get under Luka's skin, and if he does, he's going to pop.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I would do.
Like
I would get under his skin,
like a zit.
And then on the Eastern side, it is Celtics and the Pacers. Do you give the Pacers any kind of chance at all, Joe, to win a game or two?
Yes, I give them a chance because the Celtics have been consistent in losing games they shouldn't lose. The only thing is that's very interesting about this series is, what if Indiana's scored all year. They can get on runs. Can the Celtics stop that if they do go on a run? There's a higher probability of an upset in the East, obviously, in my book, than in the West. Don't be surprised if Indiana upsets the Celtics, is what I'm saying. It's not likely, but I wouldn't be surprised either.
I'd say it's 30-70, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good percentage. Because this team is confident, they can score, they're young.
And they're healthy. They don't have injury.
And they're not, the pressure's not on them.
Yeah. Halliburton was the one that was injured that we were worried about, guys. And he ended up, making 6 or 7 threes against New York?
I would run until Horford passes out.
That's the key right there.
Right? Porzingis is likely not to play in this series, and if he does, he's probably not going to be at full strength. So run these guys out the gym.
That's their only shot.
Yeah.
That's their only shot. And then take one in Boston at least. But then again, Magic Man, I'll bring it back to you for some final thoughts. They did Miami and also as well Cleveland won in Boston, and it didn't do them any good. The thing is, if they do win and take one in Boston, they have to follow it up by winning at home. They have to stay strong at home.
They do. And the crowd at the Pepperidge Farm Arena or the Fruit Roll-Up Center, whatever they're called. I know it's Gamebridge, but still. The fans.
You've got snacks on the mind.
I know the fans at the Pepperidge Farm Arena need to be very loud for those games 3 and 4. It's possible they could steal one in Boston, Gerald. That's for sure. I don't see it happening. I see a close series. However, I do see a sweep.
I see it in 5. For the Celtics,
gentleman's sweep.
I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm damn wrong on that one. I'm hoping Pale Fox can come up and rub it in my face.
And a sweep is a sweep, but I do have confidence that the Pacers can keep all 4 games close.
We'll see.
What do you guys giving out participation points now?
Yeah, that's
no.
Well, if they keep it close, they have a chance to win. So.
Hey, if they score more points at the end of the game, they'll win, right?
Yep, Joe's philosophy. There you go. But
Gerald, before we leave, just my NHL picks. The Panthers and Rangers are going to have an epic 7-game series. Those are the 2 biggest teams in the NHL. that's your Stanley Cup, pretty much.
Oh, I think the Panthers are really good. They
Yeah.
improved upon last year getting beat by my Golden Knights. So yeah, I got to give them their props, and they look really good right now. So
And heck, Vancouver didn't even show up for Game 7. So
yep. Edmonton, Connor McDavid. You never know.
You never know. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm with Gerald. I'm rolling with the Panthers. They got the biggest, baddest, meanest guys out there. So
yeah, but we'll see what happens. But it is, of course, the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. I will let everyone know in advance, probably through a tweet at Lakers Fast Break, if we're going to go ahead tomorrow night and do a playback. Let's see if we're available to do so. Playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. We had a good crowd yesterday. It was really a lot of fun for that Minnesota game. We were like, this game's over. This game's over. What the hell? Yeah, that was great. I enjoyed it. So all good to see that collapse by Denver, to see Michael Malone realize who his daddy truly is. And we'll go from there. But this is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. We'll be back tomorrow as far as our regular show tomorrow night, recapping what went on at the very least for the NBA playoffs. Pale says, I never picked the Celtics, you damn leprechauns. I'm hoping they'll lose, Pale Fox. I'm hoping they will lose.
they call themselves the Celtics. Okay, they have Gaelic and Celtic symbols, but they call themselves the Celtics. It's Celtic. It's not Celtic. It's Celtic. It's Celtic Warriors, not Celtic Warriors.
I'm not going to say too much on Vancouver, Turbo, because we did see a massive choke job by Denver. But for my Knights, they were up 2-0 heading back to Las Vegas, and they choked it. So, at least they got a title, though. At least they got a cup. But on that note, Joe, appreciate you here. Any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
No.
No? Okay. All right, Magic Man, appreciate you staying up late with us. It is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. We'll be back tomorrow for at least a show covering the NBA playoffs. Whether or not we'll be on playback, I will let you know tomorrow, but always some good stuff from all of us here. Latest Lakers news, NBA playoffs, and more, always right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast.
How was the tri-tip last night, Joe?
How was the tri-tip?
Good. I had it again for lunch today.
And nothing beats a good tri-tip. Okay, and on that note, have a good evening, everyone.
All right, guys.
Be
Later.
safe.
Do you use any sauce with the tri-tip, Gerald?
Yes. And why are we still recording?